Welcome to the Dental Marketing Guy Show. I'm Justin, the Dental Marketing Guy, and today we have a guest who it's a huge honor to interview, Joshua Scott, the founder of 8E8 Dental Marketing. That's 8 and the letter E and the number 8. And really interesting. I mean, I got to ask you where that name came from, but yeah, maybe you could tell us the story behind why you started 88. We've got some huge actionable tips for our viewers on how you can improve your dental marketing from a pro, a seasoned pro. This guy's been in the game for a long time. He's going to tell us all about it. But first of all, how are you, Joshua?
Good, man. Good. I'm glad we could connect. Thanks for having me on the show too. Been we've talked a lot in the last year or two, and been a fan, especially the little SEO videos you're doing. I think those are a really great idea for sure.
Thanks. Yeah, it's humbling to have you follow me. I mean, that's you're obviously been in the game for a long time. Tell us a little bit about your background in the dental industry and what happened that gave birth to 88.
Yeah. Man, I've been in dentistry. This is going on 15 years now. So, which seems crazy, but I spent about 11 or 12 of that with a national consulting practice management firm that worked in dentistry, and they're based here in Columbus, Ohio. And so, yeah, it's kind of cut my teeth in dentistry with them, and it was a really great experience. But what happened was kind of towards the end of that, the owner there began to think about or wanted to experiment with actually starting a marketing division of the company. And so, that I was like, yes, let's do that. And so it kind of started going down that road, and eventually he just felt like it was probably going to be too distracting for him. He wanted to expand the company in a more national level. I actually completely agreed with it, but our conversation at the end of the day was, man, I love this. So like, where does that leave us? And we worked together for a little while longer, but in the end, things started growing, and it just, it's too hard to do two things at once. So here we are.
Excellent. So you were working in the dental industry. Wasn't it for a software company of some kind?
No, it was a practice management firm. They do consulting, a lot of continuing education, things like that.
Okay, yeah. For some reason, I thought a software company, because you have a huge emphasis at 88 on being searchable, on being internet friendly. It's a digital age. We've talked a lot about direct mail in the past, and I mean, what's basically? Could you kind of run us through your philosophy at 88? Obviously, you're ROI oriented, you're branding oriented, but kind of what makes you a little bit different from the next dental marketing company?
Yeah. I mean, those are good questions. I think, I was just on a call here earlier this afternoon, and probably one of the things I tell people is if you're calling me to get a price on what our websites cost, we're not the right company for you. We don't do one-off websites. And so our approach to marketing is a little bit different. I want to sit down and create a marketing plan, a marketing strategy for that practice, for that doctor. I mean, typically it's for like a year, so it's like, hey, the next year, here's what I would do. Here's what I think you need to spend. And so it's more comprehensive. It's custom because you just don't know. I mean, this practice I'm talking to, he's actually buying from a 62-year-old doctor who has never had a website. So is a website in the strategy? Like, yeah, of course. But some practices, like maybe they just built a website. And so I'm going to come in and customize the strategy and go, okay, we just spent money and invested on a website. So what's next? What do we need to do to optimize that? What are some ways we can take advantage of it? And so we're definitely a more comprehensive company, and our goal is to work with our clients long-term as more of a trusted advisor to the practice.
So like the first step as far as like, okay, I'm a dentist. I know I need a marketing strategy.
Yeah.
What do I even do? What's the first step to even, like, should I just Google something? Should I contact you? What should I be thinking about? What are some quick tips as far as like calibrating my mind as to getting on the right trajectory?
Yeah, yeah. But you know what? That's a really great question because I think it probably depends on where you're at with your practice and what stage. Because I mean, the one thing that's really great about dentistry is the I mean, a lot of people have bootstrapped their practices, right? I mean, startups or when they first buy it, it's like I mean, it's like a startup or a new practice, and so there's a lot of kind of like this. I call it the DIY movement in dentistry, and so that may be the right approach for you and your marketing to begin with. But eventually what will happen is the typical marketing budget is probably going to be somewhere 3 to 4 to 5%. That's roughly. So but if it's $1 million practice and you're spending 30 to 50 thousand dollars, you do that a few years in a row, man, you ought to start getting some advice on where that money is going. I mean, it's a big chunk. And so bringing somebody like me in or working with a professional, they can advise you. So at least you're not wasting that money and optimizing that investment. And then probably the third step, so I mean, you go from like DIY to getting some professional advice on it to probably the third step is just working with a company that you can trust to handle the whole entire strategy and the pieces. Because now at this point, you need a trusted company advisor in that role that's just handling the entire thing. And so, what I find with a lot of practices is they've got 3, 4, 5, 6 different marketing companies involved, like your direct mail company, your website company. Sometimes even different companies are doing the SEO, or saying they're doing the SEO. And at the end of the day, you're trying to manage like 4 different companies, and I'm like, who wants to do that?
Right.
So for me, those are probably the progressions. Like you just have to know where you're at. Do you need to do it yourself because you're bootstrapping and on a budget, or is this time to get a professional involved because you're spending a decent amount of money?
Yeah, definitely. It's funny. Some dental offices I've talked to, they have multiple people doing the SEO.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
right.
like, oh my goodness, there's too many cooks in the kitchen here.
Yeah,
Um, but when you're dealing with these budgets, like like you're saying, if you're dealing with these budgets, 30, 40, $50,000 a year for marketing, a lot of people just want to like get a piece of the pie. I
yeah,
feel like a lot of people are just kind of targeting dentists because it's like, oh, there's some money. That's definitely not the approach that you take. I mean, it seems like you're really passionate about the dental industry. You've been in it for a long time. What would you say? You've got a show on YouTube as well. It's the 88 Dental Marketing Show. And what you do there is you actually answer questions. What are
right.
some of the most frequently asked questions? I'm sure maybe with your clients they might be a little bit more advanced after
Uh,
you've consulted with them, but just one-off questions coming off the internet. What are some of the most frequently asked questions?
huh. That's a good question. I think we get a lot still on social media and Facebook. Just what the play is there. I think what's interesting, Justin, you probably know this and you've probably seen this, but 2 years ago, I think in dentistry, there were still a lot of practices trying to figure out the ROI on Facebook. Like what are we really supposed to be doing here? And I think 2 years ago, most practices were like, we do Facebook, but we don't really get new patients from it. And that's completely changed within the last 6 months to a year. Whereas I'm sitting here saying to you now, like a practice, if you're not getting new patients on Facebook, you're not using it right. Like that's probably the easiest source of new patients that I'm seeing right now. And so that's just been in the last 2 years. And so social media, you think about this, like where it's come, it went from like all the kids are doing it to you should have a business page to, well, what's even the ROI here to now it's probably the best marketing strategy out there. So I still get a lot of questions on social media and still trying to get a handle on it.
So that's probably the first thing because a lot of people, for instance, on Dental Town on the forums, I know they're talking about Facebook. You've got a few threads there where it's like, hey, do Facebook ads work? And you've
Right.
got one dentist who's just crushing it on Facebook. He's like, I just get all my clients from Facebook. We had Dr. Anissa Holmes from Jamaica. She's got a pretty big Facebook following. She was on the
Sure.
program to talk about Facebook ads specifically, and I
Yeah.
think she said 40 plus patients per month, new patients per month for her practice, and that was geometrically tracked Facebook.
Yeah.
So, I think you're right about that. I think that, that's where the crowd is. That's where the psychology of the people on Facebook is. They're open to the idea of of finding a dentist on Facebook, even though they're not specifically like search, like AdWords, they're looking for a dentist. But would you say that the approach for Facebook, what's the approach that you take? I mean, when Anissa Holmes was on, she was talking about, just videos that show your humanity. Don't talk about clinical stuff.
Yeah.
What's the approach that you've seen success with on Facebook?
Yeah, no, that's interesting because and that's the Holmes. I mean, I think gosh, they're up to, I wouldn't say 50,000 followers, but I feel like every time I say it, it grows. So I mean, it could be like 63 now or something, which is insane. And but what that goes to show you is, so they focused on growing an audience, and there's part of that now that's just math. I mean, if you have 60,000 people seeing your Facebook page, you can post content, just post content. We're not even talking ads. Boost it. Because the audience is so big, she probably has to put, I think she said like $500 behind those boosted posts. But then you're just, by math, you're just getting a percentage of those that come into the practice. And so that speaks to the audience and the value there that she's built. I think what we're doing with a lot of practices is dropping ads into the local market. And so you're right in that it's different. Like Google AdWords is people searching. Facebook is placement. So it's a little bit of a different approach. And I like Google AdWords when people are searching, especially for services like dental implants, orthodontics, pediatric dentistry, that type of stuff. I think it works really, really well.
Okay.
Facebook, so Facebook, you're kind of just dropping them in people's feeds, and they see an ad and they go, especially if it's compelling photography and imagery, they go like, wow, what is this? This looks like a great dental practice. So that's typically been our approach to it.
Yeah, and you just brought up a really good point. So we've got, if we could take away something from this interview, if nothing else, you've got Facebook as a platform,
Yep.
and then you've got custom photography, maybe custom video, because I know video is becoming more popular on not only the internet at large, but on Facebook specifically. And I'm sure you've kept your finger to the pulse on how video is growing in Facebook. So would you say, like, if our listeners were like, hey, trying to do the do-it-yourself route, maybe they're not quite ready to get that professional advice just yet, or they don't feel like they should do that. So you would say Facebook, if you do it right, which means custom photography, which means professional photography that puts you in a good light. Would you say that's a pretty good start as far as, like, don't go with the clinical side, go with the human side, go with the custom photography, and then Facebook as a good platform? Would you say that's a pretty good starting point, or is this sort of one-off tactic, not the way that you prefer to give advice?
No, I think it is. I think and I don't. Gosh, I never mind giving advice. I think that's a great strategy. And what we've seen, because what Facebook is changing the game with is you literally have data. So we can run 6 different ads for the same practice and use stock photography for a few, use pictures of the building or the waiting room for a few, and then use pictures of the team. And you can run all those at once. So they're all live. You'll start to see data and you'll see what people click on. I mean, it's like the game, like you can tell which ones win the game. And so the ones that always score the best are like the picture of the team with the doctor. Like, get them out in front of the building, get a photographer with a wide angle lens, beautiful sunny day, take that picture, man, that wins on Facebook. And so, yeah, I think custom photography is huge. I don't think saying it won't work without it is true. But what would be interesting is run some custom stock photography, see how those score, and then switch it out with custom photography, see how that scores. And I think you'll see a big difference.
I was talking to a social media consultant for medical the other day, and they were showing me, like, okay, here's an example of a Facebook ad we ran, and it was a dud, and it was stock photography. And they're like, here's an example that worked, and it was like just the most random stuff, like oh, this patient is pregnant. Oh, this dental assistant just got engaged. And
Right.
the sharing and the liking and the comments, it's like insane. It's like, wow. What do you think? Because dentists are very scientific, right? And what would you say? I think dentists want to know, like, why is it that this works? I'm kind of throwing this question at you without nothing scripted here, but
Yeah.
but what would you say? What is the psychology of the prospective dental patient on Facebook? Why does that message resonate with them? This random stuff about like engagements and babies and all that kind of stuff.
Um, Man, right now I think it's marketing. What I think, if we're keeping it really simple at the end of the day, it's marketing is about attention. And so I think you just got to know where attention's at, and to ignore the fact that people are like, attention is right here now, is I think you're just missing the entire game. And so I think people get caught up in that. Like, I don't understand Facebook. Why is that working? Why would that drive new patients? And I'm kind of like, that's really not even the question to be asking. It's all right here. And like, go to, like tomorrow I'll be at my son's baseball game. And I'll be in the bleachers with, a dozen other parents and families, and I will guarantee you, I'll look around and 90% of eyes are going to be on the phone. Especially between innings when they're warming up. I mean, it's like everybody's on the phone, and stop at a traffic light and look at the other cars, and everybody's like looking down. They're taking a minute to text or something, and so it's just where attention is. 20, 30 years ago, people were sitting in front of the TV. That's where their attention was, and so you could literally interrupt them with ads. But this is where it's at now. So whether or not you understand it, I think that's just where it is, and respecting it. So
Yeah, yeah. So basically, who really cares why? It's ROI focused. What you're doing, you're looking at where's the audience and going to them. We don't really need to ask why. What we need to know is what's actually working. So,
yeah,
I like your channel. I've seen pretty much every episode. I think your approach to this is a little bit different than a lot of dental marketing companies out there. I think it's you put yourself out there, you put your personality out there, and I think people feel like they know you. And when you do that, this is a good lesson for our viewers, for dentists. You might not run your own YouTube show, you might not have your own podcast, but when you put yourself out there on your website with custom photography, maybe even video, I think this is a good lesson of how the way that dentists buy. It's the same way. We're all human beings. So
yeah,
half the battle is getting people to know you, like you, and trust you. And so I think you provide a really good example of that. And so I'm sure your clients are doing the same.
yeah, man. Thanks. And I think it's just, I think at the end of the day, it becomes about the story of the practice, and what the message is there. I don't know if you may have read Simon Sinek's book, Start with Why, and it's a very popular TED Talk, and it's kind of the buzz and the hype in the just continuing education world for sure. But really great message, and it's one that my team and we walked through about a year ago, and that's our approach with dentistry too. Is we get a call or an email, and hey, I need help with marketing, but our first question is, well, why? Why market? Like, why are you doing this? What's the message? Because somebody probably has 6 or 8 different choices on that street of dentists, and so it's like, what makes you unique, and capturing that story, I think, is going to become a very, very important thing as we move forward. I think right now, story kind of cuts through the clutter, cuts through the noise of everything else that's out there, and so yeah, I mean, that's been our approach.
Excellent. Well, where can the viewers find you if they want to learn more?
Oh man, they can start at joshuascott.com. That's always a great spot. Just a little overview of myself and our approach. You've mentioned a few times we do the podcast. It's not quite every week. We're trying to get to that, but usually about every other week. But that's the 88 Dental Marketing Show. If you just go to YouTube and put in 8E8, you should get it to come up. But But yeah, that's a fun one. Like you said, I love answering questions, and that's been a ton of fun to do that for sure.
Excellent, excellent. Well, it's been a huge honor to have you. I think, the takeaway is Facebook custom photography. Try that out. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, joshuascott.com. If you find this on YouTube, if you find this on Dentaltown, the Dental Marketing Guy blog, wherever you find this, feel free to reach out with questions. If you enjoyed this interview, thumbs up and share it with someone that you think will benefit. And thank you so much, Joshua.
Oh
And
man, just my pleasure. Thanks for having me on, especially on your Friday afternoon there. So I appreciate it.
yeah, cool. Well, it's been nice having you, and yeah, I just hope that the viewers feel like they got some benefit out of it. I think we got a little bit of actionable items and really good discussion about maybe chasing every flashy object isn't what it's all about. Maybe just that slow, steady pace is really what dental marketing is all about. So I appreciate you bringing that angle. So thanks for listening to the Dental Marketing Guy Show.